Amazon interview advice. Start with the end goal in mind. The objective you going into an Amazon interview would be to pass it. All right, who passes job interviews? Well, it's mostly qualified candidates who can interview well enough, which basically boils down to two critical ingredients. Okay, the first ingredient would be you'll need some great answers, which means you should prepare some great stories, which is also called the process of creating a story bank, which is oftentimes over 50 pages for most senior types of roles. Okay, and the second critical ingredient you'd want to build is you must be able to answer pretty much any question or follow-up or challenge question you're getting asked. In other words, you must do some role play to build up your listening skills. All right, this you probably already knew. You need these two critical ingredients, that is the story bank or stories, and to role play them. Right now, preparing an Amazon interview is for many, if not most candidates, an experience in which you prepare around their leadership principles. Truth be said, leadership principles are super important, and whenever I coach an Amazonian willing to transition to another role, they, in every sentence I could listen to the leadership principles. Okay. However, preparing for an Amazon interview for real will be a lengthy process, right? Preparing on all Amazon's 14 leadership principles, or even 10 of them, takes time. Okay. This is the best way to prepare an Amazon interview, but it's also the lengthiest part of this. Okay, and knowing in my experience, 90% of people complain they don't have enough time to prepare not only Amazon interviews but any job interviews, and this is when problems arise. Scenarios such as you start preparing on the principles only to realize you won't have time to prepare all of them. Okay, and then you eventually start using AI to come up with stories or to reward your stories to speed up your process, and you can see it's going downwards from here, right? Or another scenario would be you prepare your story bank for all the leadership principles only in a first version or only in a draft version. You think, what could I be talking about here? And even in the star format if you want. But it turns out, unless you revise your story bank at least 3 times, your stories will not sound good enough. I can tell you from experience, I've seen this thousands of times. Okay, and the third scenario probably you'd want to avoid here is you prepare an entire story bank, you revise it 5 times if you want, you're really proud of your story bank, and then you go to interview with Amazon only to realize that your answers sound wildly different and worse than you ever thought they would while preparing the story bank. So in other words, you forgot to role play your story, right? And there could be various other combinations of these scenarios, right? So long story short, because of preparing on the Amazon leadership principles is such a lengthy process, it takes a lot of time, many people underestimate this and will not finish this process, right? So this going back to the beginning of what I said in the video, you need 2 critical elements. You need both the story bank and role play. If you do the one without the other, if you do the role play without having a story bank, you're basically playing with fire, because your answers will lack consistency and you probably couldn't remember anyway all your stories, right? Or if you do vice versa, it's pretty clear that your written answer will never sound as a spoken one. Okay, so basically you should start with these 2 things in mind right from the start, right? You need both of these. So what would be the shortest possible path to achieve success with both of the, not just one? Okay, and for this you could employ various approaches, such as instead of preparing all the Amazon 14 leadership principles, you could simplify them into some, 6 or 7 behaviors that would be most representative, and only prepare those, and the rest of time could be spent on role play, right? Or the other way around, trying to get some help, hire someone to help you with the role play, in particular on the reasoning that, hey, maybe 2 heads are better than 1 to prepare a job interview, right? But long story short, while there's a clear correlation between candidates who prep the longest and success in Amazon interview, because it's a critical component of this. It's perfectly possible for candidates who prepare to do good enough to also land jobs with Amazon, even nowadays, for senior roles, for any role that you want, by employing this approach of preparing so that I can interview well on my strength, using both a story bank and having role played for that job interview. So I hope I help you to increase your chances of success in Amazon interviews. I hope you found this useful, and thank you very much for watching.